Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and there's a lot of talk of where's patch 6.1, when's the next DLC, and I understand that. But I want to talk about some other stuff today, because I feel like it could be kind of fun. I have thousands of hours in the Total War Warhammer series. Surprise, surprise, the guy who's got multiple Warhammer-based tattoos plays a lot of Total War Warhammer. But even I can get a little burnt out sometimes every now and then. But what makes me keep coming back? Why is this series so damn good? Well, today I want to talk about the 5 campaigns in Total War Warhammer 3 that keep bringing me back. But before anything, a big thank you to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video. Instant Gaming is a website where you'll be able to buy games at discounted rates. Not just games that have been out for a while, but even those that have just recently released or are still on pre-order. It's a platform that I use myself because, as you guys know, I'm addicted to Warhammer Tabletop, so I need to get the best deals anywhere, and they always deliver with some pretty damn good deals. It's not just PC games, by the way. You can get stuff for PlayStation, Xbox, and also Nintendo. Not only that, but we do have our monthly giveaway going on. Win the game of your choice. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below and just sign up. You don't have to even make a purchase. This is a monthly giveaway that we've been going for a fair amount of time, actually. It's proving to be quite the good experience working with this company, and I always want to do a sponsorship with something that I personally use and I've had a good experience with, because that also translates well for you guys. So I'm very much appreciative that we've been able to keep this relationship going forward, and with that being said, let's jump back into our regularly scheduled programming. We're going to start off with number 5, which is a relatively new one, Tamurkhan. I keep going back to Tamurkhan every now and then to play a campaign, and there's a few reasons for it. Tamurkhan is a very well-known character that was introduced during the Throne of Chaos series. His book came out, and then unfortunately the others didn't come out after that. This is a long-standing thing with Games Workshop, but he was a Forge World character. A lot of people really admired that model but couldn't afford it, myself included back in the day. But I did manage to get my hands on the book, and I read that story multiple times, to the point that I just really admired that character. It's one of the best campaign stories that Games Workshop have ever produced. So I had big hopes when that character eventually was going to make it for Total War Warhammer. It was almost certain because it was just easy money. I mean, the Toad Dragon is a big one there, right? And the translation from lore to Total War was phenomenal. Originally, I wasn't too keen when Creative Assembly told us that, yeah, Tamurkhan was going to be a Nurgle faction rather than a Warriors of Chaos faction, because that's what the lore was based around, but you're incentivized to recruit more mortals. The campaign mechanic is centered around Tamurkhan's story, gathering up war bands, getting units from other factions, building up this terrible host to go and destroy Null and potentially the whole of the Empire. Obviously, it's important to note that Total War, especially with Thrones of Decay onwards, has felt more sandboxy, but playing through that campaign with Tamurkhan felt like I was reliving the story for the Throne of Chaos book, but myself taking control of it, and that just felt absolutely amazing. We've had one DLC since then that hasn't really replicated that feel. Thrones of Decay was just such a high quality DLC all around. I'm hoping, and I still have hope, for the future DLCs to hit around that mark. We're throwing ourselves back to Warhammer 2 here, and this is Settra the Imperishable. Settra doesn't have any unique mechanics. In fact, none of the Tomb Kings do, barring technically Archaon, because he gets some unique units from just an addition to his roster, but Settra is iconic in Warhammer Fantasy. In fact, when Warhammer Fantasy was killed off unceremoniously, thank God it's back now, Settra was so popular that a lot of people still knew what Settra was, thanks to loads of memes. I mean, he does have 50 million titles. But Settra is one of those characters that a lot of people look to play when they look at the Tomb Kings first. And that's because he is the big boy. The Tomb Kings themselves is probably one of the best DLCs that Creative Assembly have ever released. It's showing a slight bit of age now in Warhammer 3, but even then, it's still very damn good. But you're playing the King of Kings. You're getting your armies larger and larger as you start taking over more territories, getting more armies in a rather unique way, obviously, compared to the other races. And, I mean, it's great memes, man. This is a badass character, and I gravitate to him more than anyone else when I want to play a Tomb King campaign. I think it's got a lot to do with the lore also. When the end times were going on, you know, the Chaos Gods actually offered a lot of power to Settra, and he basically flipped them the bird and said, once I'm done with Nagash, I'm coming back for you guys, which is incredible. I've been gravitating a lot to the Tomb Kings lately, and I think it's because I've been painting a lot of Tomb Kings for Warhammer the Old World, and I'm still too intimidated to paint up Settra's model, believe it or not, which I guess shows how much respect I have for that character. Honestly, the only thing that would make the Tomb Kings as a whole a little bit better is just a slight update to give some unique stuff to 3 of the characters. I don't feel like Kadzeb needs anything, but it would be nice if he did get something too. He's just rather forgettable. And yeah, a few characters here and there, you know, just a little bit adding the missing stuff. A legendary hero would be fantastic, for example. But as it stands, Tomb Kings, very much playable. For our third spot, we have Karl Franz. Yes, the Prince and Emperor himself. I think everyone was going to expect him to be in the list at some point, mostly because, yeah, he's so popular. Everyone knows that he's incredibly popular. A lot of people keep going back to him. He's a comfort campaign for a lot of people, and I understand why. He's got a pretty interesting start because you start off dealing with a minor faction and then you can kind of go wherever you please. The world is your oyster. You have to keep the empire from crumbling. You've got loads of mechanics to make sure that you can kind of do that. And you have to deal with all the threats coming down. You've got Festus, you've got the vampires, the Norskins are going to come down. Be'lakor sometimes is quite annoying. The orcs will push in from the south. You're surrounded at all sides and your friends are dwindling. They need you to protect them. At this point, I'd argue that Karl Franz is likely the most well-known character in Warhammer Fantasy. There's a lot of memes revolving around him too, which naturally makes him more and more popular. Memery is good for Warhammer. Honestly, the only thing that I can complain about with this campaign is that we don't have Ludwig or Kurt Helborg yet. Both those 2 characters are pretty much always close to Karl Franz, one being a personal protector, the other one being his banner bearer. It's something that would just add a little bit of extra flavor. But the campaign itself is near perfect. Like, absolutely phenomenal to play. This character was well liked before the Empire rework and was well liked even before the update that came during Thrones of Decay. So it's just, he's a big lad. Everyone just loves Karl Franz. Okay, this one's going to be a fastball. I think people weren't expecting this character, but were expecting this race. Throt the Unclean. Skaven, obviously. Now, a lot of people would be saying, well, your favorite clan is Clan Pestilence, why not Skrulk? I still feel like Skrulk needs a bit of work, and I know a lot of people would be jumping towards Ikit more, but there's something about Helpit and Clan Moulder which really keeps me coming back. It's a big thing, with Helpit being this horrible place, even by Skaven standards, where mutations happen, forced mutations, forced breeding, all this type of just dark, grimdark Warhammer that people expect. Helpit is likely the worst place that you could ever be if you're ever captured by the Skaven. You might be enslaved in any other location, and you will be tortured, but I feel like being under Clan Moulder is infinitely worse. And you get that campaign here. You've got a bunch of rat ogres, and you can mutate them, you can give them different buffs, but sometimes they'll start crumbling. You've got all these monsters which just are weird and terrifying. Remember, the monsters like the Helpit Abomination, they come from Helpit. There's 9 circles of horror here. To put into perspective, I do enjoy Clan Moulder quite a lot, and back in the day in the tabletop, I bought a bunch, and I mean a lot of rat ogres to theme an army around them. It just sucks that they were absolutely trash on the tabletop. Let's just like put that, I'm putting that lightly there, right? Like really, really bad. They're still kind of bad too. But I think it's kind of important to show when a faction has such interesting lore that it makes me coming back to it. Oh hell, even buying miniatures to paint an army around it. That just shows how cool that is. We're going to jump into an honorable mention before we go into the number 1 slot, though I imagine that you guys already know what that one is for me. Yeah, the Beastmen. All of them. I mostly prefer Morgur, though. The Beastmen are in such a good spot thanks to their rework in Warhammer 2, and it's just a chill campaign. You are the harbingers of destruction. You are getting just a bunch of pissed off angry goats and cows, and you are destroying everything in your path. It's not the most stylized campaign. There's not really a lot to think about it because it is more of a horde faction, but yeah, there's just something really cool about them, and I really, really do hope that in the future we'll just see a few more additions. Thankfully, the Beastmen have been winning Warhammer 3 in that sense. Every time there's a Chaos DLC, they've gotten like at least 1 or 2 new toys, so that's always great. But a little bit of a, fun mechanic for each of the 3 legendary lords that still don't have something would be amazing. Alright, my number 1 slot, Azazel. I know some people are going to be saying, really, that's your number 1 slot that keeps you coming back? But Azazel was one of the first miniatures that I was able to buy on the tabletop with my own money, with pocket money back in the day, right? And he did look cooler than the other Demon Prince models around that time. Let's be honest, it's those old school metal ones, not the kind of better plastic one which ended up becoming Daniel. since then, I've always wanted him in Total War. He became a character that I got really into. I started building my army around him, and it's my Warriors of Chaos of Slaanesh, right? Themed armies. It's the Warriors of Chaos as a whole, which I think keep bringing me back because there's so much variety. I know some people are going to say, well, you know, it's just the same campaign over and over, just a different flavor of troops. And yes, I do agree with you. But it's like, well, one day I want to do a Khorne-style campaign with Warriors of Chaos. I'll play Valk here then. Or maybe I'll just play a Nurgle one with Festus. But Azazel I keep going back to. I love Warriors of Chaos. Warriors of Chaos were one of my main factions on the tabletop, and I'm still very much in that thing of they're likely going to be my main for Old World too, out of the core factions at least. Naturally, it was only because of Champions of Chaos that the Warriors of Chaos faction ranked so high, and that wouldn't have been the case, and we would have had Azazel with the Warriors of Chaos that we had in Warhammer 2 and Warhammer 1. I wouldn't have touched it at all, but he's a fun campaign. I love the idea of just starting out there, right in the border of your enemies. You can go straight in or start working your way backwards, getting all your vassals, getting a lot of cash coming in, and then just throwing legions at Kislev, throwing legions at the Empire, attacking from the sea too. It's a very fun campaign, and I keep coming back to it. It's actually my favorite campaign in Total War Warhammer. Now, this list itself is just my own personal experiences. You guys might have some other favorites, so let me know what your favorites are in the comments below. We can start a bit of discussion. I know that there's a lot of different campaigns there, and some people are going to be wondering, well, where are the Chaos Dwarfs? The Chaos Dwarfs would have been number 6 for me. It's incredibly structured and very fun, so I'm not saying that anything deserves to be better than anything else. I'm just going with a fun little list here. This is the great thing. There's so many characters and races to play with that everyone's list is bound to be very different. I very much doubt that we'll see identical ones. But yeah, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. I do apologize for being late. We had a little bit of a scare with my oldest cat. He's fine, thankfully, thank God. I was just up all night, kind of panicking whilst we were waiting for test results and so on. Turns out he had something stuck in his ear, and that was making him just kind of instinctively head bob a lot, and I was just a bit worried there, because when a cat starts head bobbing, it's usually neurological issues, or sometimes even worse. So yeah, a lot of panic. See you guys, have a good one.